Facebook. Good. So we're just lying down to start with. So you can lie down with the soles of the feet together, the knees apart. There we go. And as we lie down on the floor, you can have, if you have yoga blocks underneath your thighs or some cushions, so that you can really just let your body relax. So the soles of the feet can be together, the knees apart, and you can have your blocks or cushions underneath your thighs, underneath the knees, your arms, your hands, and your body are out to the side. So coming into a variation that really works for your body right now. And if knees apart just does not work for you, then just bring your knees together, feet apart. So really finding a variation that is good in your body this moment. And so what I really want today is just to have this space where you can breathe, relax. Sometimes that's really difficult. So, you know, a lot of you talk to me about being anxious or being stressed. And I feel that too. I'm in a very fortunate position with how I work. I can work from home, and that's been really good. But for some, it's a challenge. And certainly if you're someone that's watching the news a lot or reading the papers a lot, again, it's we are bombarded with all this information. So taking time now just to breathe and to be is really important. But we will also in a moment move to get some of that energy just shifted. So just for a couple of more moments, just lying Supta Baddha Konasana, so lying on the back, soles of the feet together, the knees are resting away from each other. And just start to observe your physical body. Observe any tension or gripping. Notice how your body is breathing. So feeling, how does the body breathe? And you might even notice a deeper inhale or a longer exhale. You may even feel that you really have to release that exhale, feeling that sighing out or physically releasing the breath. And you can also notice just how with every exhale that you can let go a little bit more. Good. And so as you're ready, bring the knees together. Hug the knees into your chest. So just give yourself a nice hug. Lengthening the spine and just feeling your knees, feeling your shins. So again, becoming aware of your body. So from here, we'll come into a twist. So we'll just drop the knees to our left side. Right arm can extend out to the right side. So spinal twist. And it can be nice and open, or you can really stack that right knee on top of the left, right hip on top of the left hip. So it becomes a little bit more intense. You could draw the knees so they are aligned with your navel. Or you could even lift your feet up the floor, keeping the knees on the ground. So you can bring a little bit more fire into it if you need to move that energy. Let's bring the knees back into the center again, and then drop your knees to your right side. Again, it can be nice and soft or open. You can stack your left knee on top of your right, left hip on top of the right hip. Stay here or lift the feet off the ground, so spinal twist. And wherever you are, you breathe. You let your body breathe. Really nice. Let's go ahead and bring the knees to the chest again. Give yourself a nice hug. Maybe roll gently from side to side, so just feeling the sacrum, the lower back on the mat. So becoming aware of that connection to the earth. And so this last week and the week before, we've been very much connecting to the earth element, to the water element, energetically to the Muladhara and the Svadhisthana chakras, this very embodiment of our physical being. We will come up to sitting, so I'll give you two options. If you need to be a bit mindful, you roll to the side, or you roll along the spine a few times. So again, just waking up the body, becoming aware of your body rolling along the spine just a few times. So getting a little bit more energy, and eventually you'll come all the way up to sitting. So finding your comfortable seat. So from your seat, let's just bring the palms together in front of the heart. Just take a moment to connect to your body, to your breath, to your heart. And so we're just entering into this new lunar cycle. So it's just the new moon. Such a nice time to set new intentions. And so we can think about, as we plant this intention, as the moon starts to grow, our intentions will grow with it. It will become lighter and brighter and fuller and more abundant. And it might just be to stay a bit more grounded, to breathe a bit deeper, or you might have a much deeper connection. And so we will start with a long exhale. So we'll breathe in together, the exhale, exhale through the mouth, maybe do an Om sound or any other prayer you like. So let's breathe in and out. Wonderful. So from here, come into a downward facing dog. So feeling that downward facing dog, and you can shift around a little bit. So just create a little bit of fluidity, a bit of movement in the body here. Feeling the body breathe. Just starting here in that downward facing dog. Really nice. And again, in your downward dog, especially for those of you who have been talking about anxiety and stress, think of how you connect to the earth. So feel your hands pressing into the ground. Feel the balls of the feet on the earth. So feel the solidity and the strength of your body. And even that sense of releasing the heels towards the earth. So I always say you don't need to bring the heels to the floor at all. It's not a requirement, but feel that you can ground down through the heels. And then have that nice deep inhale, that complete exhale through the mouth maybe again to really have that grounding awareness. And so we will start to move to get the energy flowing a bit. So allowing the hips to rise, heels to ground you. Find space in your neck and your jaw. Inhale into a plank pose, shoulders over the heels of the hands. Lift up into your shoulder blades, press into the balls of the feet. And again, feel that strength through your thighs. On your next exhale, you lower down. And your choice, you can lower halfway down or you lower all the way down. Inhale either into a small cobra pose or upward facing dog and breathe here. So if you choose upward facing dog, just lift your thighs off the floor, the knees off the floor. So just the top of your feet and your hands on the ground. Then you can extend your heart forward, Lift through the crown of the head. Whatever variation you are in, allow the tailbone to lengthen. Take one more inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. So we'll just enjoy that again with a little bit more breath. So let's inhale into the plank pose. Exhale to lower down. Inhale to your back bend. And a downward dog on the exhale. So sometimes if we just feel stressed or anxious and we can't just sit in meditation, we know it would be good for us, but we can't. Sometimes movement is really good. So this is what we will enjoy for a little while, and then cool down for the nervous system. So let's come forward into a plank pose again and just stay in your plank pose. So in a little bit of a stressful situation, which a plank pose is, notice how your body can still breathe. So even as you engage through the lower belly, lifting slightly through the pelvic floor, just feel the breath in your side ribs, in your back body. Let your neck relax, the jaw. You could even look from side to side and there shouldn't be a problem. And then when you're ready, slowly lower halfway or all the way. Inhaling into a back bend, finding that lightness through the heart. And then downward facing dog. Really nice. So from our downward dog, let's walk the feet all the way to the front of the mat, standing forward then. You can grab hold of your opposite elbows and just allow the spine to lengthen. The crown of the head can relax. And again, just feel the neck is releasing. So any of that tension that we have in the neck can release. So allowing that spaciousness. Wonderful. Release the hands to the earth. Inhale, come halfway up, lengthening through the spine, hands on the floor, on your shins, and then fold it all the way again. Let's inhale to come halfway up, and this time bring your hands to your hips so you have that nice straight back, and then rise all the way to standing, hands at the center of the heart. Wonderful. So from here we can flow. So press the feet firmly to the earth, rooting down with the balls of the feet through the heels. And maybe just for a moment, close the eyes. And with the eyes closed, if comfortable, become aware of where your weight is. Are you standing on the heels, the balls of the feet? The inside of your feet, are you collapsing the inner arches? Are you just shifting to one side? So feel that you can truly spread out for the feet so you are grounded and supported. Wonderful. So that's our foundation, always connected to our roots. Inhale, raise your prayer to the sky. And exhale, fold it all the way forward, hands towards the earth, standing forward then. Inhale to lengthen through the chest, hands can be on the floor, on your shins. And fold it all the way on the exhale. Let's inhale to step the right leg back. Long exhale, left leg back, and you can lower down. Inhale, lift through the heart, cobra, upward dog, downward facing dog. Wonderful, and stay here and breathe. So again, feeling that spaciousness, groundedness through the body. So we'll play around a little bit more. So let's step the feet together at the back of the mat. Rooting down through the right heel, extend your left leg behind you, so you can lift it just behind you to the sky, however it feels comfortable. Downward facing dog again. Extend your right leg behind you. And then step your right foot between the hands, turn the back foot flat. We'll come into a warrior one in a minute. So just feel your feet on the ground, right toes pointing forward, left toe slide out to the left side, bend the right knee deep, straighten the left leg even more. Then we can roll the spine up so you face the narrow side of your mat. Take one hand to the lower belly, one hand to the sacrum, and then imagine you can lengthen the lower back, lifting the pubic bone to the navel. So there's a bit of space in the front of the left thigh and hip. Again, allowing the tailbone to release. Let's extend the arms to the sky and breathe. So what I love about the warrior poses, these standing stable poses, is that they are grounding, we are connecting to our physical body. So if we are a lot in our mind or we're feeling anxious in our minds, now we feel our body. And we can always press a little bit deeper into the left foot. We can always draw that right hip or right thigh bone a little bit further back. So there's something very concrete in our body that we can work with. Let's bring the hands to the hips, straighten the legs, we'll turn to our left side. So we come into a standing forward bend with our feet really wide apart. So again, you can simply just lower down, maybe hands on the floor, or again, grab hold of your opposite elbows and fold forward. So again, letting the neck relax, the jaw. So imagine all the nerves along the cervical spines, the back of the neck, including the vagus nerve, allowing that to have a bit more space and ease. So allowing any tension to melt away. Bring the hands to the hips and just come halfway up and then rise all the way up. So we'll come into warrior pose on the other side. So you can turn to the back of the mat, left toes to the end of the mat, right toes slightly in. Bend the left knee. Bring the hands to the hips just for a moment, just to find that little tilt through the pelvis. And then you can choose to extend the arms to the sky, pressing into the right foot, left thigh bone drawing back. So feel that power of the body. So we know our body is a reflection of all the tension that we might have in our mind and our hearts. So two of the main things that we can consider is the psoas, from the back of the spine, front of the spine, all the way through the pelvis, all the way across the front of the pelvis to the thigh, to the thigh bone. So that hip flexor is a big part. Sometimes that's called the soul muscle. So very much connected to fight and flight as well, where we hold tension. Bring the hands to the hips. Straighten both legs. We'll turn to our right side now. So standing forward bend again. And this time maybe hands on your thighs or forearms to the thighs. And you can bend one knee, stretch the other. Have a little bit of fluidity in the body. You could have your hands on your ankles, on your thighs. So again, whatever variation feels nice. So create a little bit of fluidity. Beautiful. That's the psoas muscle. Then we talk about the vagus nerve, which kind of runs obviously from the brains down the neck, but also connecting to our heart, even to our digestive system. It's a very much part of our fight and flight. So if we can start maybe through physical practice or even just our imagination to calm our physical body down, our mind comes down. Mind comes down, our physical body comes down. Let's bring the fingertips to the floor. Walk your hands to your right foot, downward facing dog or child's pose. So your choice, stay in your downward dog or child's pose, or you can come forward into a plank pose. Lower down and then exhale. Inhale to a back bend. Downward facing dog. And we'll step the feet together at the back of the mat. And from here, reach that left leg behind you. Step the foot between the hands, back foot flat, warrior one pose again. Arms to the sky. So now this time, we can start to finger a little bit more of that front right hip. So right now, enjoy a bit of a back bend. So your heart lifts, you can arch the lower back a bit. But now as we exhale, we'll come into more of a neutral back. So we can lift the pubic bone to the navel, the hands can come by our side. So just as a guide, to lift through the pelvic floor, the lower abdomen. And then again, the inhale, you can open to a back bend. Exhale, lift through the pelvic floor, tailbone drops. So the arms are just there to guide you. The movement is just in the pelvis. So that arching of the back, hip points forward, and then the hip points lift. So finding that little movement through the hips. Open and a bit more intense, really, when we don't arch the back so much. And the arms are just there as an exaggeration of this movement. And then we can meet with the hands on the hips. Straighten both legs. Once again, let's turn the feet to the long side of the mat. Bend forward into your standing forward bend. This time, interlace your fingers behind your back and allow your hands to travel. Or you grab hold of anything, pair of socks or a yoga belt if you want a bit more space. So really no pushing or pulling. You can even bend the knees a bit. Bring the hands back to the hips just to come halfway up. And then rise all the way up. Beautiful. We'll turn to the right leg, so bend that right knee, arms to the sky, warrior one pose, right knees bent. And then we can embrace that open lightness through the heart. On the exhale, really feel the pelvic floor lifting, the lower belly draws in, the arms can come by the side. Again, the inhale, tailbone slightly back. Exhale, tailbone to pubic bone. So just your own rhythm. Keeping that right knee bent. Left leg super strong and straight. And then it's just that gentle pulsation at the pelvis. And then next time you exhale, bring the hands to the front of the mat. Downward facing dog. And you can stay in your downward facing dog, or you can come into a child's pose, or you flow. So your own rhythm, staying as you are, plank pose or down, back bend. So whichever variation that just feels perfect in your body. So let's meet in a downward facing dog. And in your downward dog, we'll step the feet together at the back of the mat. Extend your right leg behind you. Step the right foot between the hands, back foot flat, warrior one pose. How many warrior one poses? I think this is going to be the last one, last variation. So in our warrior one this time, we will enjoy a back bend. But what I would like for you to do is, right leg is forward. So we'll bend the left arm behind us and we can hold the back of the head. So the left hand can just be in the back of the head to lengthen the spine. And there's a bit of support for the back of the head. And you can just feel that support. Right hand can come onto your hip or onto the sacrum. And then you can lengthen. So imagine you can stretch the spine. And especially think about that openness to the back of the neck, as if you could create space and release tension around the vagus nerve. So again, that nerve that's connected to our, like literally our nervous system, anxiety, stress. So feel the support at the back of your head. And allow the tailbone to drop so you are grounded. The heart to rise. And then slowly release the hands to the inside of your right foot. You can take your right foot a little bit further out to the side, maybe left toes pointing slightly further out to the left side. And we keep stability through the hips, but we can walk the hands to the front left corner of the mat. So we start to stretch a little bit deeper into the hips. If that's too intense, you simply just bring your right forearm onto your right thigh. Your hands could even be on blocks. But embracing the openness in the hips. So keep the right knee over the right heel if you can. So some of you might draw that right knee further back. Some of you need to take the right or the knee further out to your right side, the little toe side of your foot. So open up into that right hip. And it doesn't really matter how deep in the pose you are. What matters is that, you know, you get the space where it just feels right. That's usually a place that feels very intense. Let's walk the hands all the way to the left foot. So shifting all the way to the left foot. Turn that right toes in. Warrior one pose one more time. So now the opposite leg. So again, we can take that right hand behind us. Find space in the back of the neck. Maybe left hand to the sacrum or to the hip. Tailbone grounds us. The head can rest into our hand. So just really imagine that support and breathe. Really good. Allowing the left thigh bone to move back as you root down through the right foot a little bit deeper. Release the hands to the inside of the foot. You can take the left foot further out to the side so you have space. And then you can start to slide the hands kind of to the front right corner of the mat. So imagine the legs and the pelvis pretty much this, the legs being the same because you're tilting the pelvis. It's, yeah, that's really good. Perfect, Caroline. So keep drawing that left sitting bone underneath you. Stabilizing your left knee joint. And you can embrace that exhale, that long breathing out. And so we'll walk the hands again to the middle of the mat, toes pointing to the long side of the mat, standing forward bend. And this time again, bring the hands or forearms to your thighs, bending one knee, stretching the other. So again, coming into this little bit of a movement, pulsation. You can even free your arms if you just want to release the arms, creating a bit more of a flow. So again, whichever variation that just feels nice in your body. And so when we're ready, we can walk our hands to the front of the mat, downward facing dog. And again, your choice. You can stay in a downward dog. You can come into a child's pose. You can flow through your vinyasa, plank pose, lower down, back bend. Maybe once or twice if you're flowing. Wonderful. And so everyone, from a downward facing dog, let's walk the feet to the front of the mat, standing forward then. Inhale, come halfway up. And exhale, fold it all the way. Again, inhale to come halfway up. And then bring the hands to the hips and rise all the way to standing. Just coming into Tadasana mountain pose. Feet can be underneath your sitting bones or together. Maybe close the eyes. And just allowing the body to breathe. So feeling that movement of breath in the body. If comfortable, you can again close the eyes. And notice, where do you put the weight of your body? Are you rooted through the soles of the feet, like the four corners of the feet, through the balls of the feet, the heels? Notice what parts of your feet are touching the earth. How much pressure and the different parts of your feet are touching the earth. And then simply rest one hand to the lower belly, just above the pubic bones. The other hand to the crown of the head. So just at the very top of the head. And that hand can just rest. But imagine you can lift the head towards your hand on the head. So as if you're rising up, you become a little bit longer. Yet your tailbone is rooting down as the back of the neck lengthens. You have space. Rooting down to grow nice and tall. So we'll keep that spaciousness in the neck and bring both hands to the hips. So we'll come into Triposragasana. So we'll step the feet a little bit closer together and we'll bend the right knee to the chest. So we'll have an external rotation now, rotating the right knee out to the side. And the foot can come either underneath the left knee joint or above, but you don't want to push on the actual knee. You could even have your toes on the floor on a block. And maybe your hand stays on the hips, maybe on your body, maybe at your heart. So whatever arm variation you enjoy. So that intention that you planted in the beginning of the session for this new lunar cycle, now it grows into this beautiful tree, rooting down, out, upwards. Let's bring the knee forward, release the hands, release the foot to the earth. Bend your left knee to your chest, rotate it out, and then we enjoy on the other side. And know if you fall out of this pose, it's fine. If you prefer to have your hand on the wall, that's absolutely fine as well. And wherever you are, you let the body breathe. So let's bring the knee forward again. Release the hands and release the foot. And so we'll meet at the front of the mat again. Root down through the feet. Imagine that lift through the crown of the head again. And then there's this space between every single vertebra. Your nerves can just move as freely as they should. Inhale, raise your prayer to the sky. And exhale, draw it all the way down through the center line towards the earth. Inhale, lengthening through the spine. And then fold it all the way. Walk into your downward facing dog. So hips are high, again that spaciousness in the neck and along the spine. So we'll come forward into a plank pose again and we'll stay here breathing. So having that stability and strength. We'll come into side plank, Vasisthasana. So we'll drop the heels to the right side, left arm to the sky. Now you can drop the right knee to the floor. You could be on your forearms, the right forearm. You could take your left foot forward. If you're feeling reasonably comfortable, then bend your left knee to your chest. Rotate the knee towards the ceiling and you come into tree pose again. It's the same as we did standing, but now your left foot is to your right thigh or lower leg. So simply just sideways, exactly like we did standing. Shift back into your plank pose. And this time lower all the way down to the earth. And we'll come into Sphinx pose. So elbows underneath the shoulders. Heart extends forward. And just for a moment, you can have your feet reasonably wide apart. Just shake your hips out, relax the buttocks. Let your lower back relax. And maybe again, you can look gently from side to side. You can even drop the head and let your head move from side to side, looking down. So just letting a bit of ease into the body. And then we'll embrace stability again. So draw the tailbone to the pubic bone as if the lower belly would want to lift off the floor. The tailbone to pubic bone, the pelvic floor lifts. Feel that lift with the crown of the hip, heart extends forward. So now we have a little bit of stability again. And so we'll embrace that stability a bit more. We'll come into plank pose, but on the forearms. So keep that lengthening in the lower back, tailbone to pubic bone, toes tuck under, and you press into the balls of the feet. And again, find your breath. So again, almost like there was a line from between the heels to the crown of the head. And finding that ease of breath, even when we find that we are in intense situations. Can you take one more breath? Relax the pelvis down, your back in your Sphinx pose. And again, you can relax the hips. You can sway your hips from side to side. Relax the neck. Just find a bit of ease in the body. Slide the hands under or next to your chest, underneath the shoulders. Cobra pose or upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Wonderful. And so from our downward facing dog, come forward into your plank pose. This time side plank, but to your left side. So shift your heels to your left, right arm to the sky. And again, you might be on your left forearm rather than straight arm. You can bend that right knee or the top knee to your chest. Rotate the knee to the sky as if you were in tree pose again. So whatever variation you enjoy, you might have the bottom knee on the floor, which is absolutely fine. You might be in a child's pose, which is perfect. But notice how your breath is still just moving. Steady breath, even in intense situations. Let's shift back into a plank pose. Slowly lower down, halfway or all the way. Inhale, cobra, upward facing dog. Downward dog or a child's pose. Stay in your downward dog or child's pose or flow once or twice again. If you flow just in your own breath, plank pose, lower down, back bend, but very nice, steady breath. We will meet in a child's pose, but you're not in a rush to get to child's pose. You just take your time, bringing the knees to the floor, sitting to the heels, the hip can be on your blocks. You can make fists and have your hands underneath your forehead. And in child's pose, your belly can relax. So embrace the softness of your belly, your abdomen is relaxed. And so from here, we'll slide into our Sphinx pose again. And as we move into this back bending sequence, you know, this is your nervous system, it's your body, it's your back, it's your neck. So you check in what feels good for you. what we aim to do is to find space in the front of our hips, so we release the hip flexors, and we still have space in the back of the neck. So that will look different from all of us. So from some of us, we just draw the tailbone to the pubic bone. We can stretch the toes away from us. That's plenty of stretch for some of us. Some of us can start to lift through the crown of the head, heart extends forward. And some of us will keep all of that extension and maybe just bend the right knee. Keep lifting through your heart, shoulders away from the ears. You can stay here, or you can grab hold of your right foot with your right hand and start to move it towards your right buttock. If it's easy, then turn your toes in the same, or your fingers in the same direction as your toes. And allow the heel to move towards your buttock, tailbone towards the floor. Keep lifting through the heart. Your left forearm can just do whatever it needs to do. And so again, we are really honest with our bodies. So I know if I'm shifting to my left hip, I lose some of the stretch onto the right thigh. So pressing that right side of the thigh down to the floor is a good thing. And then slowly just release it. You can shake your hips out again. And then we'll enjoy on the other side. So tailbone to pubic bone, your heart lifts. Some of us will stay with this variation. Some of us will bend that left heel towards us, grab hold of the foot maybe draw the heel towards the buttock, and breathe. And so what you really want to be mindful with is that you're not shifting to one side, but that you're really almost pressing into that left hip, and lift out of the right shoulder as well. So lift up and out of your right shoulder. And breathe. Always breathe. Keep lifting out of the right shoulder. That's it. And then we can release down. This time maybe the hands can be underneath our heart, or we can come into a prayer. But and let the buttocks relax, just let them just release. Again, you can sway them if you like. Feeling the waves of the breath. So you might just be, this is it, I'm just going to lie here for a few more breaths. Or if you want a little bit more of a opening to the front body, then you come back to your Sphinx pose. Tailbone to pubic bone for stability. Bend your right leg behind you. Draw the foot towards your buttock. Bend your left knee behind you, foot towards your buttock. And allow your heart to extend. So not a very easy shape. You're not that high anymore, but imagine the heels towards your buttocks. And if you can turn your fingers forward in the same direction as your toes. And then release. And again, just coming to the floor, rest your head on the ground. Make sure your lower back is comfortable. And then go ahead and roll around so you face towards the ceiling. You can bend your knees so your feet are flat on the ground, knees to the sky. So just for a few moments, just with your feet on the floor, knees pointing to the sky, just let your back relax. Feel the belly relax as well. So if there's any discomfort in your lower back, you simply stay here, feeling the thigh bones resting into the pelvis. If you feel you're ready to open up a bit more, then a couple of choices. We'll only do one more back bend. So we can start, if you choose to come up, into bridge pose, lifting the hips. The spine moves into the front body, so your feet are on the floor. You can roll the shoulders under. You can stay here breathing, just embracing that openness to the front body. If you want to come into a full wheel, you're welcome. So from your bridge pose, you can choose to bring your hands by your ears. Again, fingers pointing towards your feet, elbows to the sky. Maybe you come up to the crown of the head and adjust. And maybe you start to straighten the arms, lifting your heart to the front of the mat, opening into the chest, and the neck can relax. So just embracing whichever back bend just feels perfect for you this very moment. Beautiful. And once you're done, just slowly release back, keeping the feet on the floor, knees to the sky. Maybe hand on belly, hand to the center of the chest. Letting the thigh bones rest into the pelvis. So another wonderful way to really get grounded is to feel those feet on the earth. Feel the sacrum, the back of the pelvis resting on the ground. The thigh bones resting into the hip sockets. Feeling the bones of your body. And hug the knees to the chest. So give yourself a nice hug. Feel the gentle waves of your belly. As you inhale, it expands towards your thighs. As you exhale, maybe the knees draw closer to the chest. Roll onto your right side. And slowly come up to sitting. And so from sitting, we can extend the legs out in front of us. And we'll just come into a bit of forward bend, so to calm down the mind and just folding forward, opposite of what we just did. So we'll bend the right knee towards us and just hug the right knee in. We can take the right arm behind us into a spinal twist. And then twist to the opposite direction, just a gentle twist. And bring the right heel towards your inner thigh. So again, you're almost like a tree pose variation. Lift through the chest, maybe stay here. Maybe come to the front of the sitting bones. Maybe you fold over that left leg. And as always, your variation. Maybe you bend the left knee. Maybe you have a block underneath your right knee. Or using a belt to lengthen the arms. So simply just stay there for a few breaths. So if you're on Instagram with me, it will switch off in a minute. And so I think literally a minute. So if you're on Instagram, I'll switch off and I'll switch on again. But in the meantime, we just stay in this forward bend. So if you're on Instagram, I'll just switch off now. And just letting the body breathe. You can feel the waves of the breath. So you're not in a static pose. Your body will breathe, so your body will have these gentle waves. And so from our forward bend, we can start to walk the hands back to lift up. Bend the right knee towards you and then stretch it out. And bring the left knee towards you. And we'll just twist to the left side. And then twist to the right side. Then drop the left knee down. Left foot to the inside of the right leg. And again, your variation. Maybe you sit up nice and tall, closing the eyes, that inner awareness. Maybe you use a belt. Maybe you gently fold forward. So there's no rush at all. Right leg forward, left knee is bent, or opposite from what you just did. So forward bend, we always say are calming, relaxing. So allow this to be calming and relaxing. Feel that the head can relax. You might even move the head very gently, releasing tension. You don't need to be static. If the body wants to sway or flow, or the head wants to sway or flow, then just allow it. Just a couple of more breaths. So no rush, but just in your own time, you come back up to sitting. And bring your left knee to your chest and your right knee to your chest, so hugging your knees in. So just one more spinal twist. We can take that right arm behind us. Just gently rotate, gazing over your right shoulder. And so just to release again, any tension in the neck will stay in this twist, but you can gaze over your left shoulder, and over your right shoulder. Again, just having a little bit of release in the neck. No forcing, just letting the neck relax. Move gently. You can come back into the center again, hugging the knees in. And then left arm can move behind you. And again, you can gaze over the left shoulder. And once you have that steadiness, you can allow the hip to move from side to side, if it wants to. We can face forward again. And then we will move into relaxation. So your variation, if you feel that openness and lightness, maybe you take your cushions and your blocks and you start the same way as we started. So coming onto the back with the knees bent, and then allowing the knees to drop away from each other, the soles of the feet touch. And I like having blocks. It doesn't need to be a lot of blocks, it's just a little bit of support so we can truly relax. But if this doesn't work in your knees, in your hips, or if your lower back is sensitive, then bring your knees together and the feet apart. So you open into the sacrum, so there's more space in the sacrum. And maybe your hands on your body, maybe out to the side or by your side. So whatever resting position is good. You might straighten your legs, so whatever feels good for you. Now stay here with you while you're relaxing. Obviously you can stay as long as you like. You might just stay for a minute, but I'll give you a few more minutes. So your body can just breathe, rejuvenate, and rest. So again, you can feel the body on the earth. Feeling the support of the floor beneath you. And even feel the heaviness of the body. As if the body is simply just melting into the earth. Melting away any tension, anxiety, anything that's no longer needed. And now the body is just breathing. No effort. So as we are resting for a few more moments, I want to share a paragraph from one of the Upanishads. And I know some of you have heard this a million times, but it's still one of my favorite parts. In this body, the town of spirit, there is a house shaped like a lotus. And in this house, there is a little space. One should know what is there. There is as much in that little space within the heart as there is in the whole world outside. Heaven, earth, fire, wind, sun, moon, lightning, stars. Whatever is and is not, everything is there. That space is the home of spirit. Self is there beyond decay and death, sin and sorrow, hunger and thirst. Self stays in the heart. Who knows this enjoys the kingdom of heaven. In this body, the town of spirit, there is a house shaped like a lotus. That space is the home of spirit. Self is there beyond decay and death, sin and sorrow, hunger and thirst. Self stays in the heart. Who knows this enjoys the kingdom of heaven. You might want to stay in Shavasana for a little while longer. Or if you're ready to move again, then you start to make little movements. If your knees are resting apart, then bring the knees together. You can move your fingers, your toes. Perhaps you stretch out. Maybe you're staying in Shavasana for as long as you like. But once you are ready to come up, you can bring the knees in and then roll to one side. Just taking a few moments resting on the side, so there's no rush. Perhaps this is one of the lessons some of us have learned, that we can be in a space of no rush. But once you are ready, you can push yourself up to a comfortable seat. Perhaps again bringing the palms together in a prayer. Maybe you're closing the eyes. Again, feeling completely grounded and supported by the earth beneath you. That sense of allowing the crown of the head to extend to the sky, creating space in your physical body for your nervous system, but also emotionally, mentally, energetically. And so we take this moment to truly honor our physical body and how it moves us around and supports us. And honor our body, our breath, our energetic body, our spirit that plays in the center of our hearts, the lotus flower. And this is where we might have planted a seed of intention for the new lunar cycle. So let's once again just inhale together, exhaling through the mouth, maybe with an Om. So let's just inhale and exhaling. Namaste. Thank you so much. A little extra session for today, and but we are back tomorrow again, and tomorrow normal time at 6 o'clock.